Hello? Yay! Yeah.
One more time.
Okay, one more time. I guess you all know about the problem. Our planet is slowly heating. It's causing heat waves, droughts, floods, and storms all over the world. And I guess that you also figure out some ways that you personally can do to help this, such as flying less, eating less meat, buying less clothes, and stuff like that. And that's all great. Please do all of that. But the problem is bigger than your personal lifestyle. And you might ask yourself, is there something bigger that I can do to stop climate change? And it turns out there is, because we're all part of an industry that's actually a big polluter. The IT industry is probably causing more carbon emission than aviation does because of electricity. At least 2/3 of the world's electricity is produced by burning fossil fuels. And we, in the IT sector, consume about 10% of this energy. So we're actually a big consumer, which means that we have big consumer power. We can influence how electricity is going to be produced now and in the future. So we use the energy to power devices, to manufacture devices for networking and for data centers. We're going to zoom into data centers in this presentation because they're a big and growing sector. So first of all, we need to use less energy per useful computation. So one way of doing this is actually moving your services into the public cloud, because the big cloud providers have ways of increasing server utilization that normal people just don't have. So there are a bit of different figures on this, but maybe 40, maybe 90% of energy can be saved by just moving into a big cloud provider. So that's a good start, but it's not enough, because in the long term, we need to actually close down the pipe to the old dinosaur. And the only way of doing that realistically is to also widen the pipe to renewable energy. So we need to invest in renewables. And one way we can influence how that's done is by choosing the right cloud provider and influencing the rest. So we're going to look at the cloud providers. How do they power the data centers? And what kind of investments do they do in renewables? So we're going to look into AWS. They power the data centers from about 50% renewables, 50% fossils. And they also claim that 5 of their regions are carbon neutral, meaning not that they power entirely by green energy, but they buy the greenness of some other energy that is sold to some other clients by the means of green energy certificates. Yes, this is complicated. And it's a decent way of compensating for carbon emissions, but these certificates are kind of too cheap, and they don't really support long-term investments in green energy. So we're going to move to Microsoft in a second. Yeah, there it goes. Microsoft have kind of the same energy mix as AWS. They also compensate for the rest by green energy certificates, only they compensate for their entire business. So that's better. And Google, they do something different. They're actually the largest, or one of the largest investors in the world in renewable energy. Because for every megawatt hour that they consume in their business, they also buy 1 megawatt hour of renewable energy. And then they strip off the greenness of that energy or that electricity and resell it to the power grid. And the reason why they do this, because it's kind of complicated, right? Is because they think it's a better long-term incentive of investments in green energy. So I'm going to summarize this really soon as the slides change. Yeah, there we go. So what should you do? You should move your services into the cloud, preferably Google if you can't use Windows Azure, and if you can't use one of the carbon neutral zones in AWS. Also, please listen to Marta tomorrow, and also there's a great community if you're interested in technology and climate action.tech, And I have some references. Please check them out if you're interested. So thank you.